All right. Well, good day and welcome to the Curious Cat Show and Lucky Cat Wisdom. I'm your host, Lucky Cat. Today we're continuing our teaching on the parables of Jesus, and this is one of my favorites. They're almost all my favorites, as a matter of fact. But we're going to talk about the house built on the sand versus the house that was built on the rock. This comes out of Matthew chapter 7, verse 24 through 27. Everyone then who hears these words of mine and acts on them will be like a wise man who built his house on rock. The rain fell, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, but it did not fall, because it had been founded on rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not act on them will be like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell, and great was its fall. Now when Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowds were astonished at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority, and not as their scribes. That's verse 28 at the end. So we're going to take a look at this parable from a metaphysical standpoint. Of course, we all understand that the parable is not about architecture. It's not about actual building. It's about consciousness, inner foundations. It's about the spiritual laws that govern stability in our lives. It's about resilience, and it's about transformation. The rock is divine principle. The sand is the shifting realm of appearances. So let's talk about some of the symbols here from a metaphysical standpoint. The rock as divine principle. In metaphysical teaching, especially like teachers like Emmett Fox and others, the rock symbolizes spiritual truth. Jesus said his words, spiritual truth, the unchanging, eternal, foundational reality that lies behind all things. This rock represents divine law, inner alignment, conscious contact with the presence of God, and the awareness that God is the only power that there is. To build on this rock is to build your life on principle, not personality. It's to build it on truth versus trends. It's to build your life on the inner knowing that you have and not on outer conditions. This is the consciousness that says, I anchor myself in the real reality. I stand on what cannot be shaken. So the sand now. The sand, it represents the realm of appearances. It symbolizes the shifting, unstable world of outer circumstances, the realm of moods, fears, opinions, social pressures, social media, and material illusions. I threw in the social media thing just for the heck of it. So what is the sand? It is a reactive emotion. It's you identifying with your ego. It's looking for external validation, placing all of your hopes and everything on temporary conditions. It's the belief that power lies outside of you. So to build your life on sand is to build your life on what is transient, what is changeable, and what is simply just unreliable. This is the consciousness that says, I will be okay if everything outside of me stays the way I want. It's kind of like the weather, right? You know, we've all experienced those days when it's just beautiful. It's the perfect day, and you just think to yourself, oh, if this could just stay this way forever. I feel so good. This feels so good. And an hour later, the storm clouds roll in, and it's all gone. We know that outer conditions never stay the way we want. So we talked about the rock and we've talked about the sand. Let's talk about the storm. The storm as spiritual testing. First of all, the storm is not punishment. Neither builder is being punished at all. This is not a storm coming in to punish you. It is a storm to bring revelation. It is a storm to show you what you have built your life on. So the storm just is a revelation. It just reveals what your life has been built upon. And in metaphysical terms, the storm represents challenges, crises, emotional upheaval, unexpected change, and the dissolving of illusions. It's also the pressure that exposes your foundation. Storms do not create instability. They just expose it. Storms do not destroy truth, but they do reveal truth. So we have two builders here in the parable which represent two states of consciousness. There's the builder on the rock. That's the conscious creator. This builder represents the soul that has awakened to principle or to divine law. This is a consciousness that meditates, practices spiritual discipline, aligns their thought with truth, refuses to be hypnotized by appearances, and acts for that inner guidance, and sees God, the divine, the universe, source energy as the source of life. When the storms come, and they do, this consciousness can remain steady, not because storms are absent, right? But because the truth is present. Now, the builder who builds on the sand is the unawakened mind. This is the builder that represents the personality-driven self that relies on outer things for their inner security. This consciousness reacts instead of responds. It seeks approval. It fears change. It clings to material identity. And it tries to control the outcomes. And it believes that the appearances in the world are real, that that's the reality, the material world. And when the storms come, this consciousness collapses. It collapses. Not because it's necessarily weak, but because the foundation was never real. So here's the metaphysical message. Your foundation determines your experience. Let me say that again. Your foundation, whether it's the rock or the sand, determines your experience of life. Again, this parable is not about morality. It's about causation, metaphysical causation. Your inner foundation determines how you interpret events, how you respond to challenges, how you rise after a setback, and how you create your future, and how you experience God. The storm is the same for both of the builders. The outcome is what is different because the consciousness in these two individuals is different. Here's the central truth of the parable. Build your life on what cannot be shaken. Again, the great masters and wisdom teachers of the ages have taught that the only real security is spiritual understanding. Everything else like money, relationships, reputation, health, your status, those all belong to the realm of the sand because they can change. Money comes and goes, relationships break up, your reputation gets spoiled by some rumor, your health increases or decreases, that type of thing. So, to build your house on the rock is to think from truth, it's to speak from truth, it's to act from truth. It's when you trust your inner presence. It's when you align yourself with divine law and refuse to be ruled by the outer appearances. And this is not just a passive faith, it's an active metaphysical practice. It's something you actually do. And here's some things that you can do. This is practical metaphysical application to this parable. Anchor your mind every single day through meditation, through prayer, through periods of silence, affirmations. These are all tools that can help you build on the rock foundation. Currently, an affirmation that means a lot to me when I'm in the realm of Christ consciousness is, I am the Christ in action here. I am the perfect love casting out all fear. That's a tool that helps me ground myself so that I can build my foundation on the rock. Secondly, just refuse to be afraid of appearances. When conditions around you are looking threatening, just remind yourself God is the only power. This appearance has no authority over me. In fact, you could use that as an affirmation. God is the only power. This appearance has no authority over me. It's like, I am the Christ in action here. I am the perfect love casting out all fear. God is the only power. This appearance has no authority over me. And to build your house on the rock, it means practicing spiritual obedience. Now, I came out of a tradition where obedience felt very oppressive, but this is not that kind of obedience. This is the obedience of where you follow your intuition, where you act from principle and you choose truth over fear. So build inner strength before the storm comes. This is just common sense. This is just wisdom. You want to build inner strength in your life before the storm comes. You don't build the foundation. You don't build your house during a hurricane. You build it during the quiet seasons when you have time to consciously decide what this house is going to be like. I just want to share with you something I've shared before in some of my other Curious Cat Show material. I went through a period in my life where I went through a storm. This storm came into my life not to punish me, but to help reveal some truth in my life, to show me who I truly was in my consciousness. I had a dream right before the actual storm happened. Now, the actual storm I went through was a divorce. It was getting out of the ministry. It was eventually the deconversion and deconstruction of my Christian beliefs. And that storm led to a period of agnosticism and atheism for a decade and a half, for a long period of time, before I began to awaken again. But prior to the storm hitting in full force, I had a dream, a very vivid dream. And in this dream, there was a house sitting on a foundation, and a storm came in, or tornado came in and blew that house to pieces. And in that house was my family, my marriage, my ministry, my ego, everything I thought I was, everything I thought I had was blown away by this tornado. And in the aftermath of the storm, all that was left was the foundation. I say all that was left. The most important thing that was left was the foundation was there. And I remember Spirit saying to me very clearly to me, that everybody was going to be okay. Everybody would survive the storm. It was going to be okay. Now, that didn't mean that I was going to rebuild the same house that I had before, the same marriage, the same ministry, the same ego. You mean that was gone, but the foundation remained. Interestingly enough, that foundation laid bare for, like I said, a decade and a half of me absolutely turning my back on everything spiritual. I considered myself an atheist, and that was my pursuit in life, was material life. That was it. That's all there was. But a couple of years ago, another storm came into my life, and in this storm, again, was revealing what's really there for you. So I started meditating, and through that meditation, I came into another awakening. And that's where I saw the foundation again. The foundation of God, the eternal presence of God, the unchangeable one, was still there. And now I'm in the process of rebuilding my spiritual house. So I'm going to bring over some things from what I learned early on as a Christian into what I'm learning through metaphysics. I'm open. I'm open to building a new house. And this time I'm not going to hand my house over to a denominational teaching and to human beings. This time I'm going to do it myself. A DIY, do it yourself build. And I encourage you to do that too. That's what Curious Cat Show is about. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to build your spiritual house. That's up to you. You can take what I have and what I've offered and what others offer and choose the materials and build the house the way you see you should build it based on divine principle. So I wanted to share that with you, that I'm building on the rock and I'm choosing what to build, and I'm consciously aware of what I'm choosing, where before I really wasn't. It's just the truth of the matter. I wasn't consciously aware of it. When I became consciously aware of it, that's when I deconstructed the whole thing. So that'll tell you a lot about consciousness and awareness. So today, as we close up, I want to invite you to become a builder of your inner temple on the rock. I invite you to become a conscious builder, architect of your own soul, of your own spiritual life. Build your life on truth, love, principle, presence, divine law, and inner knowing. And then when the storms come, because they'll come, your house is going to stand. That's what's exciting to me, is now I'm building on this foundation a house that's going to stand. And I'm not going to be trying just to avoid difficulty, but because what I'm building on now, I am absolutely sure is eternal. Well, that's going to do it for the Curious Cat Show. Like and subscribe. Remember, we're the only one that Curious Cats ask for by name. Namaste.